that's what I really want to get onto now, and it's I want to actually start to talk about this right now. Like that equality. Maybe if I turn this way, it might look a little bit more better. You get that. I always like being in the wild bushland areas. Is so much better, man. I always like being in the wild bushland areas. The topic though of this video, guys, is going to be about equality. It's like a lie, basically, and stuff like that. And how do you even start this video? It's like a very difficult it's very difficult to even start to try and talk about this, man. It's very difficult to try and talk about this. It's because it's like so controversial and all that. So trying to talk about this, it's gonna cause a lot of issues if I attempt and try to talk about this. Flies and all that. It's so hard to even begin to talk about this topic because it is very controversial, because we do live in like a very in a world that's like very, very liberal and all that type of stuff, and like humanitarian, and that we want to make sure everyone feels good about themselves and all that type of stuff. And it's kind of, there's nothing wrong with that stuff. I do think that you should accept who you are, even if you have like some sort of disadvantages, like you might be born with some type of disability, whatever. Even if that's the case, I do think that you should honestly like still appreciate who you are as a person. But still equality is a lie. This like belief that this egalitarianism is like a form of like we do like believe, a lot of us, we believe in like very extreme like forms of like egalitarianism, that we're all pretty much, what does that word mean, egalitarian? It's pretty much that we're all the same basically and stuff. It's just that we just need to be put in the right environments to become successful. The environment's the only thing that matters. It's not about who you are as a person, how you were born. It's just about the environment that you're in. That is like a little bit, there's some merit to that obviously, but still I do think that, because obviously if you like how you're born, that is actually very, very important. Actually, honestly, I do think how you're born is actually super important, guys. That your certain characteristics, the genetics that you get dealt with, all of that is like so important and crucial. So that's what I don't just think that it's just about like the environment, because that's what that is like what a lot of modern like academics and scientists, so-called scientists and people that are like in academia, they do want to make it seem like it's just all about the environment that you're in. That's what determines everything. If you get put into the right environment, you're going to become super successful and all that type of stuff. It's all about the environment. I don't actually I'm not a geneticist or a proper scientist or any of that, so what do I know about this? But it's kind of like, that is pretty much, isn't that the mindset, the mentality now in like so many different like academic circles, that it's not your genetics or how you're born, it's like, it's pretty much the environment that you get put in that determines quite a lot. And I do agree with that. I think that the environment's actually very super important, but equality is a lie. I still think that how you're born and the genetics that you get dealt with, that is actually also very, very important. It's like they're both like equally important. It's not like I'm saying that one's more better than the other, all that type of stuff. It's like they're on the same level, but still I think that it's that type of extreme egalitarianism, and that's like, where does that come from? It's so, equality is a lie. It's just, I honestly do think so, that it's like a very extreme form of like egalitarianism now, that the environment's all that matters, nothing else really matters, it's just the environment. That's kind of like, to me, that seems like very nonsensical a little bit, and kind of a little bit naive to believe in that it's not it's just all about the environment. It's not about how you are, how you're born as a person or whatever, the characters, the genes that you get given and all that type of stuff. It's not, none of that doesn't matter. It's just all the environment that determines everything. I think that's kind of a little bit, I think that's kind of so naively stupid if you believe in that. If you think it's just purely the environment, if you think it's purely just the environment that matters, you're so naively stupid if that's what you think. If you think that your genetics aren't very important or contributive. Do you know about like incel looksism and all that type of stuff? Like incels, like people that are like they're like this certain group of men, they're so ugly that no woman wants to touch them, and blah blah blah. And so they stay in, they don't get anything from women, and they stay on their own for the rest of their lives and all that, for most of their lives, etc. and stuff like that. I think there is some merit to that. I think, again, it's like equality is a lie. I think that how you're born, your characteristics, your genetics, all that is so important. 100% that's so important. Because I think that determines quite a lot. I don't think it's just about like because again, we are like, it's like very much egalitarianism now. It's all about the environment. It's not about who you are as a person and how you're born. Yeah, look into the whole thing about incels, looksism. What's that about, man? Looksism, incels, and all that type of stuff. There's like an online community of men that are very ugly and stuff, and they can't get anything and stuff, can't get any like intimacy from women and stuff, and so they're pretty much just like left on their own, and they can't get any intimacy and all that type of stuff, man. And they're pretty much just like isolated. The incel thing and stuff like that. It's very, very interesting, man. That whole community of people, and it does touch on that, and looksism and stuff like that, how you're born, your physical characteristics and all that type of stuff. I do think that if you're like shorter, I think that you get less respected. I do think so, 100%. I think that's true. That if you're shorter, you get less respected and all that type of stuff. If you're taller, you get more respected. I think that's so true. That if you're shorter, you get less respected and all that type of stuff. I do actually think so. I think that's actually been scientifically proven and all that type of stuff. That if you're shorter, you get like less respected by people and all that. That's actually, I think that's so true. That especially if you're like a midget, you get less respected by people just because of how you are, your physical features and all that. See, and it's all subconscious as well. I think there were like a bunch of studies that are done proving this. That like your how you look and all that type of stuff, it kind of does determine people's like judgments about you and their first impressions. All that, it's all made by your physical appearance, and you can see equality is a lie. So if you like, cause like, just how you're born, like your height, something is like trivial, something so small as like that type of thing, like how tall you are, that can actually determine quite a lot in your life, because it can give like different first impressions to people depending on how tall you are. The shorter, typically men that are shorter, they're not just I think it's actually women have been saying this themselves, that they just want a taller guy for whatever reason, because it's easier to be like feeling dominated by a taller guy than a smaller one. So it's kind of very fascinating. The height thing's so interesting. It's not just that, obviously there's other sorts of like physical characteristics and features that we have. Your face, if you're like born like with Down syndrome, you see, equality is so obviously a lie. We know it intuitively, instinctively, that equality is like a lie. It's a bunch of BS and nonsense. Why is it that if we're all equal, why is it that if we're all equal and all that type of stuff, why is it that we all would get like this score like differently? Why is it that we all equality and all that type of stuff is so nonsensical? It's so obviously nonsensically stupid, man. The looksism thing is so true. Looksism, the whole thing about incels, I think that's so like factually true. Incels and all that type of stuff, how tall you are, how short you are, that's so important. It's not just about that, there's all these other things as well that come from your genetics. I think that maybe perhaps your intelligence as well. I think, even though that's a little bit more debated, contested, IQ, the whole thing about like IQ being genetic, or if it's just like your environment that matters. I think it's a bit of both, because if you're born into like an impoverished area, you're not going to develop to your full potential, and you're going to be like pretty much stuck. Like you're probably not going to be as like capable as you would be if you were born into a better environment. So yeah, so the whole thing about IQ and that being genetics, a little bit contested. I think it still is, like there's some partial truth to that though, just like with all of the other things and all that. I think there's like some partial truth to it. I think there is some partial truth to it and all that type of stuff. The thing about like IQ being genetic and all that, it's a little bit of like a partial truth to that. It's not just about it's not just about your physical features and all that as well. It's also like it's also like your mental characteristics. I think there's like some research proving that there's like your personality, your brain chemistry, and all of that, your neural anatomy and all that type of stuff. There's like a genetic component to that. 100%, I think so. There's actually some proper good research on that as well. That your it's not just your physical features and characteristics. It's also like your mental characteristics, like your personality, your psyche, all of that type of stuff. There's like some evidence to prove that there's like some sort of genetics in related to that type of stuff, that's a little bit still a bit dubious. Just like when you talk about like that, like IQ and like all these like mental psychological things being genetic, it's a little bit dubious because I don't know, because some people say it's like your environment determines that, but some people say it's pretty much your genetics as well. I think it's a bit of both. But anyway, let's not dwell on that. But equality is a lie. I do think so, guys. If you put like two people in the same environment, give them the same opportunities, I think one person, just because of like they might have like some certain advantage about how they were born, they might have been born taller, so they're gonna have that advantage and stuff, and so they're gonna become more successful. Even if both